Hi, Mike Matchett with Small World Big Data, and we're here with James Coomer, who's the SVP of Products for DDN, because we've got some exciting news. Now, DDN has acquired and folded in Tintri and Nexenta and a couple other things in the last couple years, and we haven't really understood what the roadmap looks like. But now it's coming together, and they're really got something that evolved a generated integrated solution that now spans a lot of territory. So let's dive into it a little bit today. Welcome, James.
Hello, hi Mike. Yeah, thanks for having me.
All right, let's talk a little bit about Tintri first of all. I mean, we know about DDM. We've talked about the A3i and the what's going on with the DGX and that not too long ago. But Tintri's something you guys acquired and brought into the DDN portfolio, but it really addresses a different audience, doesn't it?
Right, so the Tintri business unit, as we call it, is really targeting the enterprise side of the customer base, whereas DDN, the company, is really targeting our at-scale audience that we've been working with for 20 years. So really for the past 3 years, since we started bringing in the Tintri business, we've essentially developed and caught a whole new customer base, which is not really that at-scale audience. It's core enterprise IT and telcos and things like that.
Bringing you into this enterprise storage space that a lot of us deal with more often than the supercomputers that you guys would get into. Tell us now what's been going on behind the scenes for those 3 years. You had this entry running along. That was a great solution. I liked it. We covered that a lot. Uh, what have you been bringing together behind the curtain?
Yeah, well, first, let me just mention the kind of strategy behind it.
Mhm.
Of course, we have been at scale, um, and we were kind of recognizing that our at scale audience were starting to clamor for those kind of enterprise features, even at very large scales. And then similarly, it seemed to us that the enterprise, with the advent of AI and very large amounts of unstructured data, were really requiring the capabilities of at scale. So by creating this enterprise division, it means we're much closer to that audience. We acquired some really excellent and very differentiated set of products. We've been developing ever since, and it's really been aligning towards that thought process I just mentioned. These enterprise systems are great at what they do, but some of them really need to handle these ballooning data problems. And similarly, we can take some of the smarts that are used in the enterprise and really apply them in a more intelligent way to at scale. So that's really what we've been doing at a high level, is trying to build this unified picture where the enterprise and at scale starts forming together.
It's really cross-fertilizing that. I mean, enterprises are dealing with big data. A lot more of them are running AI machine learning workloads and getting into simulations and part of their digital transformation to say, how do we really do things at a really advanced computing edge? And I can only imagine the people with big data and the life sciences folks and things are looking at their data sets going, oops, we gotta protect this. We gotta secure this. We gotta make it a little more disaster proof, a little more resiliency than what we might normally do in research in 10 years ago.
Yeah, exactly that. So get the insights that are available on enterprise systems to at scale data, and for enterprise systems really being able to cope with the volumes of unstructured data with decent economics whilst maintaining that feature set. And there's an awful lot in there, but that's essentially what we've been doing.
All right, let's drill down on that then. So practically, what does that mean? What are you bringing out now? How do you bring this to market?
So the thing we're talking about mainly is around Intelliflash. So Intelliflash has been being developed by us now for something like 2 years, a little bit less, I think. And in that time, we've done a number of things. So let's start where it started. It's a core enterprise system. So all those enterprise features you might imagine: compression, dedupe, thin provisioning, good data protection services, that kind of stuff. And what we brought across was into that environment were strong NAS services, SMB, NFS version 3, NFS version 4. And that couples along with iSCSI, fiber channel support for VMware, Hyper-V, full Kubernetes support with block and file CSI drivers. So now all of a sudden it does a lot of things. It is true unified storage, and it does each one of those protocols very, very well. So that was sort of step one in sort of building up Intelliflash, was making sure it was truly unified and had very strong services across the board, whatever you're going to throw it at. And then in combination, particularly with the NAS, which tends to be, you tend to put unstructured data on file systems, generally speaking, so that you can apply analytics and AI machine learning to them. To cope with that, we needed bigger scale. So not only have we brought in larger scale, higher density hardware, but we've also kind of reused the proven platforms which we use in the AI supercomputers today on the at scale side. So these systems are very, very fast. They're very, very dense. They're strong on IOPS, strong on throughput, and we've brought them across. So we've ported Intelliflash onto these new DDN platforms, and that adds a huge amount. I think the capacities have gone up by about a factor of 5x, and the performance has gone up as well, and IOPS has gone up too. So we've changed the shape that we can deliver these systems, and that really couples well with the new NAS services, so that it's really complementary to the DDN side of the business, as well as adding more functionality and features which is applicable to the, let's say, traditional enterprise customer set of Intelliflash.
So really providing something now, not in the middle as a halfway measure, but as a really strong combination of the scalability you were getting out of your at-scale systems and the enterprise features in the VM store, the Tintri VM store.
Yeah.
And are you finding that even the at-scale customers might be interested in this, or is this something that you think are more the enterprise side growing up into that at-scale size?
So definitely we see the biggest growth happening, the most rapid growth happening on the at-scale side. Let me just put that in context though. At DDN, for those who aren't super familiar with us, we do build extremely large systems. So for us, we call it at scale, but literally we're running in the largest supercomputers in the world with the very, very largest file systems, even up to like crazy numbers like 100 petabytes. So big things. And of course, we do scale right down, but we tend to start at somewhere around 20 gigabytes a second in terms of performance, and around a few hundred terabytes to a petabyte. That's kind of the starting point of traditional DDN. And what Intelliflash has done now is allowed us to expand that and bring in a whole bunch of enterprise features as well, which don't exist on some of the at-scale systems. So it's much simpler to deploy in very small instances. It provides that unification of the services and adds a bunch of enterprise features like DDB compression, snapshots and provisioning, etc., which don't exist at the very, very large scale. And we see this pull from the customers because often they like DDN's approach. So we're an interesting company. We kind of don't really fit most models of storage companies. We're not a small startup. We're very stable, 20 years, 1,000 employees, 10,000 customers. And then we're also not the kind of the IBMs of this world. All we do is focus on storage. And we're of a size where we can give each customer very individual attention. And so those customers are kind of saying, well, can you give us more than just this at scale stuff? And of course, we've been trying to do that. And that's really what this Intelliflash announcement is about.
Right. I mean, when we look at take a life sciences company and they're doing their largest genomics or whatever on the big at scale systems you have, behind that or in front of that is a lot of other workflow for that data, right? That data gets born somewhere, moves into the large scale systems for the research purposes or whatever they're doing in the supercomputer level, but it keeps going. And there's archives, there's downstream uses of it, it goes into production sometimes. And if you look at a lot of life scale sciences, they become more like an enterprise once you get out of the lab or the research project, right? So they need that part of the storage flow to be enterprise quality. So it's fully understandable here. I find it interesting you described this at one point as a mid-range HPC solution. So maybe you could just tell me what does that mean?
Well, it is a bit awkward because when we say mid-range, we say mid-range in DDN's context, which is, we build very, very large supercomputers. So mid-range is very large.
Mid-range HPC is still pretty big.
It's still pretty big.
Yeah.
But for example, we were talking to a potential customer the other day who has many, many sites around the world. And of course, you might have tens or even, a fraction of 100, maybe 50 sites around the world with strong analytics and HPC-like requirements for unstructured data. So it's almost like an edge use case, but it's edge in the HPC case where it's, the data volume is getting pretty big. And for there, it's great to be able to give them a fully GUI-driven, out-of-the-box, ease of use, standard NFS protocols. So really simplify their life with simple storage, but still giving them performance and capacity they need. And that's exactly where we've designed InteliFlash now with this new release. That's the spot it's going into. It's fitting that space, which is still performance driven, still has capacity needs, and that capacity needs to be cost effective. But we're making everything super simple and very easy fit into a core IT environment, let's say, rather than HPC environment.
Right. So the enterprises that want to start dabbling in HPC can achieve this pretty easily and fold that into the operations they're currently used to, which is enterprise storage. And those at scale customers who need to take that data and make it workflow back into the rest of their enterprises, or make archives or serve it out in NAS kinds of ways, now can get the data integrated with that. You do have an integration point between your at scale A3i solutions and InteliFlash, though, right?
Yeah, so DDN data flow, again, quite a lot of development over the past couple of years. Tightly integrates with our A3i products. So that's the scalable parallel file systems that really power some of the largest, in fact, all the large AI superpods in the world, for example. And it integrates tightly with InteliFlash as well. So if customers want to deploy the super simple enterprise class InteliFlash appliances for the modest needs in many departments, but still need a core data center with huge amounts of unstructured data, then we've got those two solutions plus, yes, the connecting system, which is data flow, very comprehensive enterprise class, data synchronization, migration, backup, and archival. And again, you mentioned it before I did, but InteliFlash, because it's got very strong compression and dedupe capabilities, and it supports these large class hard drives, combined with data flow, it becomes another interesting, very fast archiving system with the economics people need. But the access to data can be reasonably fast through that as well.
That is just a great description of InteliFlash to say at the same time that it's mid-range HPC for the enterprise, it's really secondary storage and an active archive for the at-scale customers, right? That says a lot about what you guys have put into this product. I'm really excited to see this. And I've seen a picture of a rack where you've got the parallel file systems, the at-scale ones, running at the top, and some data flow kinds of a server in the middle, and then the InteliFlash NAS at the bottom of the same rack. It's pretty cool concept to say I can have it all now in an enterprise.
Yeah, so imagine a couple of years ago when we worked with a very large solution deal, and you mentioned life sciences. That's a good example actually, because they tend to do a lot of stuff in life sciences, but it's applicable everywhere. But essentially we would really be working with the at-scale requirements. So the heavy compute, the heavy AI, the GPU integration. We'd be coping with the heavy ingest challenges from microscopes, but there are other things we weren't going to serve. If they want to complete, core enterprise NAS services as well, if they want to provide block services for databases, if they wanted to support virtualized environments, that would be somebody else's job. Whereas today with InteliFlash, we really can do a whole solution for very complex environments that include bigger unstructured data, but then also have more traditional requirements like we need to serve out to these large set of Windows users, or we need to also support these databases, or we need to support this virtualized environment as well, or even this containerized environment. So by bringing these products together, joining them with data flow, we've got sort of best-in-class storage environments for at scale and best-in-class for enterprise unstructured data and structured data.
It's kind of interesting to think that you've got, you went into this a couple of years ago with two product lines that were a little far apart conceptually, and you've made a product that sits in the middle in a lot of ways. But talking about it, it doesn't sound like it's the middle product. It sounds like this could become the core product for DDN going forward in a lot of ways, that takes off and in a bigger way and starts to compete with some of those other companies that we won't mention on here for those enterprise workloads, and really says, hey, we've got this heritage of at scale and this heritage of virtualization support, and now we're giving you something that really unifies the best of those things.
Yeah, customers who, if they might start small, in DDN's terms with InteliFlash, And, you know, especially in this advent of AI, if they see success in an AI project, it can mean an exponential increase in the ingest of data. And they might grow beyond the bounds of IntelliFlash. But then as long as they're with DDN, that's okay. We can go to the bounds that no others can. And so we can help those customers scale. So we kind of take away that potential big headache for any kind of enterprise organization moving into AI and larger unstructured data. What if this, you know, this data is not 1 petabyte or 2 petabytes, maybe it turns into 20 petabytes and surprises us all. What do we do then? So we kind of relieve that headache for those customers who might be having that worry in the back of their mind because maybe they don't really know how successful a project is going to be or how much data it's going to result in.
If there's one prediction that I've seen every storage analyst firm make every year, it's that next year there's going to be even more data. And you can put, you know, another 10 to the third on that, I guess, every year and be somewhat accurate. So it's coming, right, folks? We're going to get lots more data. All right. So tell us. So what is the actual news here on IntelliFlash you're bringing out? And just let's nail that and talk about just quickly at the end of this what the product family looks like.
Right. So the launch is of IntelliFlash 3.11.2, which doesn't sound like a big release, but in fact it is. And it also brings in the N6000 all NVMe flash version of IntelliFlash, as well as rounding out the hybrid portfolio.
All right, so an all-flash version, which gives IntelliFlash its name, I would assume, and then a growing portfolio of capacity.
Exactly. But all the capacity stuff, they are hybrid. Everything is basically around flash. So in the hybrid systems, there's a lot of NVMe flash in there, and that's used very intelligently consumed by IntelliFlash to accelerate reads, writes, and metadata. So the applications see flash, but the expenditure on the volume of data is based on capacity, on HDD kind of pricing. And then in that hybrid range, we've got up to 4 enclosures. Each is 90 bays, so it's 360 drives. That's going to be around 5 petabytes raw. Typical compression and dedupe ratios might give you 3x that, 4x that, depending on the nature of that data. So it's quite a decent footprint and very dense. So that 5 petabytes is going to be well under half a rack, and it's going to deliver you more than 20 gig a second and more than 1 million IOPS. The new all NVMe flash system. Obviously, the nice thing about all flash is you get consistent access across all the data. So you have a completely random access to everything. You're always going to be hitting flash straight away. And we've added that to a brand new platform. And as you can probably see, we're kind of using and reusing these platforms we've tested very, very thoroughly in the largest supercomputers in the world, and basically repurposed them and brought this software across onto those hardware platforms, which are both very well tested, also reasonably up to date, just launched around a year ago, and very, very dense.
That is awesome. I can't wait to actually get my own. Right? You're sending me one of these?
I'm going to send you a couple of them, yeah.
Actually, though, if we have people here interested in learning a little bit more about IntelliFlash, what would you recommend they go to? A specific spot on your website or?
Right. Well, either you can go to Tintri.com or you can go to DDN.com, and you'll find IntelliFlash is on both sites because it's applicable to both of those sides of business. We're going to up the marketing on the DDN side around those customers working in sort of reasonable sorts of scale, and those customers looking at enterprise are going to see more enterprise sort of information for traditional core IT on the Tintri side. But either of those places are perfect. I'd suggest going to DDN.com if you're an unstructured data at scale customer, and Tintri if you're an IT enterprise customer.
Awesome. So 2 points of entry get you to the same place. If you invest in IntelliFlash, you're set either way. You can grow and use those storage platforms for anything. Looks like DDN is going to be a big player in this high-end enterprise storage space, folks. So take a look. Thank you, James, for being here today.
Hey, thanks a lot, Mike. Really good. I enjoy these sessions.
All right, and take a look, guys. All right.